second thing we're invited to believe that is obviously impossible is that multiculturalism works. Now, it's a very striking thing that 5 years ago, as Daniel Johnson referred to, Angela Merkel said that multiculturalism had failed. 4 years ago, President Sarkozy and Prime Minister Cameron also said that multiculturalism had failed. Yet we as Europeans are invited to believe that when migration was at a relative low point, multiculturalism had failed, whereas when migration was at such a historic high as it currently is, it could possibly work. This is a very impossible thing to believe. We're also invited to believe that the numbers don't matter, that the quantity of people coming in would not in any way particularly affect your society. There is a figure that I can't help trotting out on such occasions when I hear such things. We are often told in Britain, and I know across Europe people are told, that we are all migrant societies. This is not true. It is a bit of casuistry we've been invited to engage in. But it is true that we have had immigration throughout our history. But if you consider that the largest migration that people still speak about in Britain over recent centuries was 4 centuries ago, when in 1683, in the aftermath of 1683, more than 50,000 Huguenots, French Protestants, came to the United Kingdom. Such a large migration that people still talk about it. From 1997 onwards, 50,000 immigrants was about 6 weeks of average immigration into the UK. So the numbers clearly do matter in some way, and they obviously matter as well because of a density question. Nobody in any of our countries has worked out what to do about, as it were, dispersing people who arrive in such large numbers. And the result, in different ways, in Paris, in Germany, and in England and elsewhere, is you effectively get ghettos. These ghettos have all sorts of negative things to do with them, but one which is not noted enough, I would say, but I would give one figure to you that may be relevant, is the extent to which they can cause radicalization themselves. If you go through the figures that my think tank has produced, from every single person convicted, not suspected, but convicted of terrorism-related offences in the UK, 9 out of 10 of those people who have been convicted of Islamic terrorism offences come from areas where the population is between 25 and 50% Muslim. That is around 7 to 10 times the national average. That is not a coincidence. It is a byproduct of a density of population. We're also, the fourth impossible thing we're invited to believe is that the identity of immigrants into our societies does not matter. Now, in the UK, in the wake of the atrocities in January in Paris, a poll was conducted of British Muslims, which found that 27% of British Muslims had some sympathy with the people who had gone into the offices of Charlie Hebdo and massacred 10 journalists and 2 policemen. They had some sympathy with that. Now, when I was in Denmark a few months ago speaking at the Parliament for the 10th anniversary of the Danish cartoons affair, I was very struck by speaking to a Danish politician who said that she didn't want any more Muslim immigrants in Denmark. And I said, are you sure, that's a somewhat clear, but arguably too clear policy? She said, no, why should we? Because for every 100 immigrants we bring in, there will be at least 70 who don't believe we should publish cartoons and want to limit what we say and speak about and what we publish in our newspapers. And it's a difficult argument to refute. Angela Merkel, I gather in recent days, has been in touch with the Israeli government to try to find out how the Israelis have absorbed so many people into their society so successfully in recent decades. Of course, one of the reasons why they've been able to do that is because the people coming to Israel are Jewish. It may well come as a great shock to Angela Merkel that the 1 million people she's let into her country this year are not all German Lutherans.